Okay, so...
No, I'm not really, but I'm just saying, we're from Kansas City.
Okay.
But originally from Mexico, so I kind of know what's going on.
Okay, but you don't live in Chicago?
No, we don't live in Chicago.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. It's nice to meet you.
But we are for immigration, though. I mean, they have to do it legally, and they have to do it the right way. Mexico right now is doing mass deportations on all the people that stayed illegally,
right,
because that's how you manage a country.
In today's video, Don Lemon gets completely humiliated in another street interview, this time by a woman from Mexico who gives him nothing but straight facts. And things go downhill fast when at one point Don Lemon actually says, crossing the border illegally, that's not a crime. We're breaking it all down, the exchange, the contradictions, and how it perfectly captures the media's double standard when it comes to immigration and accountability.
Okay, so...
No, I'm not really, but I'm just saying, we're from Kansas City.
Okay.
But originally from Mexico, so I kind of know what's going on.
Okay, but you don't live in Chicago?
No, we don't live in Chicago.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. It's nice to meet you.
But we are for immigration, though. I mean, they have to do it legally, and they have to do it the right way. Mexico right now is doing mass deportations on all the people that stayed illegally,
right,
because that's how you manage a country. And it's not about hating people. Myself as an immigrant, it's just about doing things the right way.
Yeah. I understand that, but we don't like people being roughed up. America doesn't do that. America's about due process. And if you're going to come to this country, of course you need to do it legally, you need to follow the things. But in America, if you're going to go and pick someone up, you have to have due process, you've got to have a warrant, you've got to show them that there is a reason to do it. There is, you know what I'm saying?
No. And Don Lemon is completely wrong here. He's trying to talk to this woman like he knows what he's talking about, but he doesn't. Nowhere does it say, and I encourage you guys, look this up for yourself, but nowhere does it say that a judicial warrant is needed in order to remove someone who's entered the country illegally. While it's true, you just can't enter someone's home without a warrant, arrest can be made out in public spaces. That's the law, and pretending otherwise only shows how disconnected Don Lemon is from the facts.
And so maybe in Mexico that's different, but we don't beat our people up here. We're not supposed to.
Mexico's in North America, so North America is a continent. So you do have to do things the right way. And anywhere.
But Mexico doesn't go by the same rules that we do. We're the biggest democracy in the country, in the world, and we believe that we treat people humanely here.
No, I get that, and the thing is that when you come from a country that is not the U.S., you really see the blessing coming to a country that has freedom, a country that gives...
I completely agree with you, but you also see the way that you should not treat people. No. And I don't think people are protesting out here because they're upset that they believe that people should just come over illegally. I think they're upset because of the way that they are doing it and that they are not going through the people. If you want to come to Chicago and you want to bring in the National Guard, you have to talk to the local officials and get their approval. That's how it works here.
No, there are people out there who they are protesting because they believe that people should be able to come to this country whenever they want, that the border should just stay open. And the president had been trying for months to bring some order to this, asking for cooperation from states like Illinois, which were proud of their sanctuary cities like Chicago. And it came time where the president was asking for help to help remove the so-called worst of the worst, the violent offenders and the repeat criminals. Leaders like Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker refused to cooperate. They ignored the law, plain and simple, instead choosing to be obstructionists, standing in the way of the efforts to get dangerous individuals off of their own streets. If they had chosen to work with the president instead of against him, things could look very different right now. But hey, you get what you tolerate, and Illinois is living with the results.
See a dark side of it, though, because now you see cities like California, Chicago.
You mean Los Angeles? States like California.
Yes, exactly. States like California with cities like Los Angeles and other parts of California, Chicago, and then you see Portland, and then you see all these other places where people are just breaking the law constantly, and they're just getting a slap on the wrist and send their way.
But
and
where's it? Portland? There's no There's no emergency. There's no crime. In all of these cities that you're talking about, crime is down.
Okay, when you
always have issues with crime in big cities.
When you see those videos on TV of people just going in stores and stealing merchandise and just running out with
that shouldn't happen, but what does that have to do with immigration?
What I'm saying is that it has to do a lot with immigration, because you are saying that crossing illegally is not a crime. They're not breaking the law. That's my thing. It's
not a crime.
Go to Japan and try to do it illegally, and I guarantee you, you're going to.
We don't live in Japan. That's the thing.
Okay, but
do you want to live under Japanese rule? That you're making my point. You don't want to live under a dictatorship.
No, what I'm trying to tell you is that America is heading that way, because we're only giving slaps on the wrist instead of enforcing the law.
You know, people who think like Don Lemon, they want to be able to change the rules to make it fit whatever their feelings feel like. And so because Don Lemon feels like the laws hurt people, he wants to be able to say it's wrong, that's bad. But federal agents, ICE, they're not breaking any laws. They're following the laws and enforcing them, actually, after quite a few years of the laws not being enforced. That's all that's happening right now. But people like Don Lemon, because it doesn't look pretty or nice and it makes them feel sad or whatever inside, they have a problem with it. Well, mainly because they have a problem with who it's coming from, as far as the president right now.
So
there are things that we need to work with, but we cannot brutalize people and not give them due process. Do we need to work on people who don't serve enough time in jail and other things? Absolutely. Yeah. But that is not the same as immigration. And look, I think people should come here the right way. But also, I'm not in a dire situation where I'm going to judge how someone comes in the country when they are in fear of their lives or they have no opportunities. I'm not going to judge how they...
You told me the president is a criminal, so that's judging.
No, I'm not judging. That's fact. How's that judging?
Okay, crossing the border illegally is not a crime?
No, it's not a criminal act. Okay. It's a misdemeanor.
So why are they being sent back and saying that they're breaking the law?
That's the point.
Okay, as somebody that actually...
We don't know if they're breaking the law because they won't tell. There's no due process. Where's the evidence? That's the whole point. And if they are breaking the law, most people will say, okay, then they need to go if they're criminals. But if they're not, why are they being rounded up and sent out? Especially when he promised to deport the criminals. And now he's not doing that.
Yeah, I don't think we're going...
Misdemeanor is not a crime, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So misdemeanor is not a crime?
It's not a criminal act, no. If you get charged with a misdemeanor, that's not a criminal act.
So why get charged at all then, if it's not a criminal act?
Because we have different levels of crime. Everything is not the same.
So it is crime.
No,
it's just
we
different
have different levels of. I shouldn't say crime, but it's not. It's not a crime. You're not breaking the law. I mean, you are breaking the law, but it's not a criminal act.
So it's breaking the law.
No,
the law, but
you're not breaking the law.
The misdemeanor is not breaking the law.
No.
So if you're speeding, drinking, get pulled over, DUI.
That's not a criminal act. Well, no, if you're speeding is a misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor. Right. So it's still breaking the law.
Okay, well, if you want to qualify that, we're doing semantics. But what I'm trying to tell you is everything is not the same. It's all not one thing.
But is it the law?
Don Lemon really, though, he had some big gotcha moment when he claimed that entering the country illegally isn't a crime. It's just a misdemeanor. But that's still a crime. A misdemeanor doesn't mean it's legal. It just means it's a lesser offense compared to something such as kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, crimes that end up carrying heavier penalties because they're more severe. But what Don Lemon is attempting to do is downplay the seriousness of breaking immigration law. He's framing like, it's no big deal, when in reality, it's still a violation of federal law. It's that same mindset that's allowed this entire border crisis to spiral so far out of control, treating illegal entry as something that's merely technical instead of what it really is, unlawful.
What? Is it the law that what?
Is it a law to come over legally? Is there a law?
There are rules processes that you should follow. Yeah, so you're breaking rules. You're breaking the rules, but you're not necessarily breaking a law.
So what happens when you break the rules?
Then you suffer the consequences. But the consequences should not. Look, no one is saying no one should suffer the consequences. You guys are getting things mixed up, okay?
I mean, this guy's going to keep on trying to beat this idea into these people's brain because he wants to convince them to believe what he believes is true when in fact he's wrong. Everyone understands that not all crimes are equal, but it's still a crime. And the penalty for entering the country illegally isn't prison time or losing your freedom, it's deportation. And that sounds about fair. That's the consequence. You're not being locked up for years. You're simply being sent back to the country in which you came from. No one's trying to convince anyone that it's the same as committing a violent crime or a felony offense. But there still has to be a standard, because once you start ignoring smaller violations of the law, eventually you open up the door to bigger ones too.
What? Is it the law that what?
Is it a law to come over legally? Is there a law?
There are rules that processes that you should follow. Yeah, so you're breaking rules. You're breaking the rules, but you're not necessarily breaking a law.
So what happens when you break the rules?
Then you suffer the consequences. But the consequences should not. Look, no one is saying no one should suffer the consequences. You guys are getting things mixed up. Okay. What we're saying is that you should not be brutalized or beaten up or treated inhumanely for even if a criminal act in America.
Just for any law.
For any law, whether it is the highest in the land, you still have due process. You're still innocent until proven guilty.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we agree with all that.
But what's happening now is guilty until no proven. It doesn't matter. You're just guilty.
It's on both sides. But like, if you're going after someone that's breaking the law, right? So speeding or whatever, and they're lawfully pulling over and obeying your command, right? Then there's no issue. Are they going after people that are like calm and gentle?
Yes.
They are?
Yeah, they're not
resisting at all?
These people are, you just grab people and say, get on the ground and get in the car. And then someone will say, well, for what?
They don't have warrants at all?
No.
That's what people saying, yeah.
They don't have warrants at all?
No warrants.
No, when it comes
Are you watching? Are you paying attention?
No, I don't.
We're watching
I don't
both sides.
believe the news.
No,
I can't watch the news because you don't know who's.
Well, I'm with you on that, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just saying,
you're
I
not
don't know who
seeing.
knows.
No, you got to know. I love that you're talking to me and challenging me, but you have
I'm
to
not
know.
trying to challenge you. I'm just trying to understand, because you're saying misdemeanor and different levels of law. Just break it down to the most simplistic, right?
There are different levels of breaking the rules and what crime means.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I
But there's, when you
think
break
that
the
when it
rules
comes
and break the
down,
laws, there's always
it's
a
like crime
penalty.
is crime. There can be different levels. And when I use Japan as an example, it's not because I'm just saying, coming from a country myself that is corrupted, that you see crime here is nothing compared to what you see over there. People hanging from bridges by the necks, some even with no head. Crime is the worst that you can see. Go to Mexico, and I don't mean Cancun. Go to Mexico, Central Mexico, the real Mexico. There's crime at the worst. So what I'm saying is it starts little, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, till it gets to the point where you can no longer live in a country like that. Yeah. And this is where the U.S. is heading. And I was telling my husband...
That's never going to happen in America. Ma'am, let me tell you, America's been around for hundreds of years. That's not going to happen in America.
I mean, anything is possible.
It's not. Anything is possible. The only thing that can make it go to the level that you're saying is if America becomes a dictatorship, an authoritarian nation. And that's what we're quickly becoming.
Mexico has never had any dictators. Mexico has never been...
Mexico is not a democracy in the sense that America is.
Okay, but the
Mexico,
thing...
You're comparing two places that are not the same. And you're making my point by saying all of these bad things. Imagine if we allowed those things that happen in Mexico, imagine what it would be like in America. You wouldn't want to come here. The reason you want to come here is because we protect our citizens. Yes.
Yes.
And it's better than any country because of our Constitution, because of the rules and the laws that we have in place, because it is a work in progress.
Yeah, he's right. He's 1,000% right. But he doesn't want to mention the most important part of all. And that's the fact that we enforce those laws. There's no point of a constitution, and there'd be no reason to have all these laws that give everyone all of these freedoms that people get to enjoy in this country if there was no enforcement. If the people who were responsible, who had the authority to make sure that they are being followed, that they are being enforced, without that key ingredient, all you have are words on a sheet of paper.
Coming from Mexico, what you said, no, they are doing exactly that. All the people that were not able to cross the border and come here, and I do see it as hypocrisy because you see Hispanics in here on the streets protesting when the exact same thing is happening in our own country in Mexico. People from Venezuela, people from Haiti, Cuba, all over the country in Mexico, they are doing mass deportations and they're using force. Nothing like you see here in the U.S. They're not pulling you over and checking out, let me see if you're legal to be here. No, they start beating you up and then they question you later.
We're there. That's happening.
Not even close.
No, ma'am, you have not. Are you kidding me? Are you not watching what's happening?
I've been
Are you not
watching.
seeing the statistics of the people who have no criminal backgrounds, who are being locked up and deported?
The way that you and I see criminal backgrounds are totally different. Crossing the border illegally, that's a crime. You don't see it that way, but I do.
It's not a criminal offense.
This is absolutely crazy. This lovely woman who actually came from Mexico has a better grasp on the law than Don Lemon does. He keeps saying that is not a criminal offense, but that's just wrong. Just because people who cross the border illegally isn't the same as someone who's out robbing a bank or committing a violent crime doesn't mean it's not a criminal offense. It is. And the fact that Don Lemon stands there repeating that line over and over again is just ridiculous. I guess he figures if he says it enough times, people would just start to agree with him. But facts don't bend to repetition. They're either true or they're not. But guys, let me know what you think. Drop your comments down below. I appreciate when you guys take the time to chime in. Don't forget, you enjoy any part of the content, go ahead and smash the like button. For more, subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, stick around for the next video. Hakeem Jeffries gets shut down by CNBC host over his government shutdown lies. Stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time.